Okay. Peace and light. Okay. Peace and light worlds. We are here dealing with some effective yet productive resistance. We're going to get started in just a moment as I even up myself and where I'm at now in a different frame. And I don't want this light to be blocking us. Okay. And I'm going to start pressing record and then we're going to go from there. Shout out to all my Elite Motivation followers. We are in the background about to start recording EM Healing, another wonderful episode. So please tune in and join us. Hello, peace and light, peace and light. This is Mahatma Starseed, and you are tuning in to EM Healing's Dynamic Season 4. We are coming to you live, full in effect, video and all. And I have with me a wonderful co-host for today. Her name is Barbara With, and she's going to be talking about, with me, conflict evolution. And I'm going to let her talk about herself and introduce herself to the group before we get into the conversation. Take it away, Barbara.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Mahatma. And it's actually conflict revolution, like a revolutionary. And I am the co-founder and facilitator developer of Conflict Revolution, a training program I've been training since 1999, actually. And but I'm also an international peace activist. I'm a psychic channel. I'm a composer, performer, inspirational speaker. And right now I am on a world peace tour. I left home in October. I kicked it off last July, but I left home in October and I've been traveling around the United States. And now I'm over here in Europe. I'm mostly in the UK, but I'm moving around, promoting, talking, conversing, making contacts with people, working with Conflict Revolution, which is world peace, one person at a time, starting with self. That's what that training is about. So I'm really excited to be talking to you today.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy just seeing other people being able to get on the road and being able to share the vibes of being peaceful. I love that you said that you actually kicked it off in July, because when we were talking vaccine and I was telling you about my tour, I kicked my tour off in July as well.
Okay.
So that's pretty interesting.
You're the first person I've ever met who's also gone on the tour to connect with people, to be on the ground with people, to be on the ground. Like where I am now in the UK, it's called the New Forest. Only it's a super ancient forest with all kinds of spiritual stuff. And, you know, there's so many things we can do as we move along on our tours to make peace besides the obvious. So.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. When I first told people about going on tour, they were like, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand. What are you trying to do? And even when I was like a couple of days away and had been going live and talking about it, I had a travel partner and we were both like speaking about it, and people were still like, but I don't get it. And I'm like, you do get it. You just want to act like you don't understand.
People do that sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, it's okay though. It's so okay. Because after we did it, people understood a lot more. And I actually do it like every year. I don't do it to the vastment that I did it the first year. But eventually we do plan on going to the UK. So I absolutely love that you're over there spreading the vibes for us, Barbara, because we needed someone to set a stage out there. And obviously it was you. Thank you.
My pleasure. And just let me say that one of the reasons why I'm here until mid-April and is because I'm pet sitting. So I have the second level of peacemaking that has to do with going into these small communities. I pick small communities, people's homes, and they fill up their refrigerators and put out the wine and leave you their pets while they go off to play with their grandchildren, and you get to be ensconced in the community in a way that you can't. And so that's affording me a lot of opportunities to do this work.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I know that this isn't like really a time for a plug, but I want to have like a genuine conversation. So, and what like the things that we do are like very important, is very similar. And so like it reminds me of like one of my services that manifested after doing this tour, because what it really told me was that, you know, people do need healthy energy to come into the house, healthy energy to break up the, you know, the density, the stillness, the stagnation. And so like one of my services that I offer and want to bring more promotion to is my 27-day all intensive. And so basically it's 27 days of me like living inside the home with them, or living close enough to where they can get more immediate access to me, and I can help them with their, you know, conflict issues that they need management with. And so being able to like go away for like a month at a time just to help people and be in their area, that is going to be the new wave of like feng shuiing with a human body. Like it needs, like, our vessels are so strong conductors that that is the only thing that's gonna like mix it up. And I think about things in a way of simplicity. And so you shouldn't have to like garnish this whole long relationship with someone in order for them to finally be a friend of yours, to finally come and bless you with a better like energy in your home. Like we should be able to find someone like, yeah, come and feng shui my stuff, you know, come and chill, raise the vibes. And like before, people used to think that was like so freaky and crazy. And now this is what it is. Like this is what we're coming to. So tell me a little bit more about your conflict revolution. Am I saying it right now?
Yes,
Revolution.
conflict revolution.
Because
like,
yes.
Yeah, well,
because I hear, and because I break it down, right?
Yeah.
Like I break it down and I hear re-evolution. That
Yes.
in my head sticks more than the revolution, because I'm like, it's re-evolution. But I'll let you talk about it.
Well, the process itself really was born out of my channeling. I began as a psychic channel in 1987. And before that, though, I was at a very young age, I was a musician. I started writing music when I was 12. And so by the time I got out of high school, I just went out on the road for 20 years in rock and roll. So music is really channeling in a way, where you go into the nothing, you know, and you bring out your own creative energy and you shape it into what you want. So when I started, and plus I had a mentor when I was in high school who was a channel, so when I started channeling, I was not surprised, but it still was surprising that I could do it. And in 1993, I started doing group channeling with two women, Teresa and Kim, and we call ourselves the Psychic Sorority. And it's from those groups that I did that these voices who said, you can call us angels, said, we want to teach you a new way to deal with conflict that we feel will be revolutionary in how then it leads to world peace. And so we need humans who have conflicts to test it on. And you we apparently volunteered and were chosen in a deep spiritual commitment to do this. And that's really where it came from. And so the basis of why it's revolution is not just because we're dealing with, first and foremost, we're resolving conflict in our own energy field as per these maps of human consciousness, as we call them, very simple maps, emotion, intuition, and intellect, and how they have form and function individually, and then how they work together. And this involves also, part of the process is when you're triggered by somebody in the environment, like this person can do one thing, and you can get super triggered, and I am not even. And those are the kind of clues that, okay, this is my lesson here. When I'm triggered, here's my lesson. And so we take a look at what we're seeing out there. What is that very thing that's triggering us? And you know how the intellect can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and gets all confusing. So we try to get it down to just like a sound bite. Like, she's a control freak, or he doesn't respect me. And then we revolve that focus off of that and back over here, and we use the process in the maps to then resolve that particular conflict within ourselves. And when we do that, and we have that aha moment where we see where we're not respecting ourselves, we're saying yes when we should say no, all the ways we don't respect ourselves, and we change it here, it changes naturally out there. So that person either rises to the occasion because we've risen to our occasion, where now we're going to take action to act respectfully, or they disappear. So, and then there's a whole nother piece about this revolutionary way to deal with emotion, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And it really is worthy of Albert Einstein, who is the soul that came forward in this long process to reveal himself to me, that he was really here to help us work with world peace.
I love Albert Einstein. I was actually reading, I wasn't reading, listening to this story about a meditation. And Albert Einstein is one of the people that actually engaged in meditation. And it's in meditation that you're able to connect with this higher source of consciousness. It's in meditation that you're able to see the opportunity of experiencing the different types of unfoldments that's happening around us, and without meditation, I don't know, like, would there ever been an Albert Einstein? Would he be able to channel energy to us if he didn't meditate?
He certainly was a channel. And when he was young, when he was very, very young, he didn't speak. It was like he was autistic. And I think until he was probably 8 or 9 years old, I don't think he spoke much. And so I think there's a place in, I don't know, I was listening to one of your podcasts about trauma and about getting over, early sexual trauma and all that. And I was thinking my own life, where I have that trauma, and how, even though it was trauma and there's all the classical healing of trauma I had to do, the dissociation that came from it was really an invaluable part of what allowed me to do the music that I did, and also to become this channel that I have. So I wonder if that with him too, is that there's kind of a natural meditation, I think, in that, I don't want to call it autistic, but sort of neurodivergent spectrum that some people like him is on. He's on.
Right. I strongly believe that our spectrum individuals are here to prove that much can be done with little spoken.
More maybe some.
Yeah, like if the autistic world doesn't teach you anything but that, is that there's more ways to communicate.
Yes.
You know, and so being able to, like, because I have a friend whose son is artistic, and I'm just like, he ain't got no breath for you. He has nothing to say to you right now. He has nothing. Because it's like the vessel has to feel pulled to talk, you know. And everyone, I was listening to my quantum empowerment, and he was saying how, like, everyone needs to be allowed to grow in their measurement and their pace, and being able to see, like, around the time when Albert Einstein was alive, or anyone that was in that vernacular, they had the space to grow. There wasn't a lot of constriction of, like, you need to be this way, you need to be that way. And you see, like it doesn't happen to everyone. Like, people like Albert Einstein, they get to expose themselves to the world differently, just by a certain ability just being dulled down, you know, for a minute. And so, like, we're coming to this part in our evolution to where we're understanding that maybe there were some mechanisms dulled down for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we don't know that. We don't know that until it comes to this conflict. And like you were saying, 3 people in the room only affects one of us. Who's the one with the problem?
Yeah.
Is it the situation, or is it you, you know?
Well, and in our model, that's the model. That is the step-by-step instructions. To do this, you know, you have to agree to do the ground rules, because this isn't victim shaming. This is a completely different form of, it's almost like a thought experiment. That's what Albert Einstein did, was that what if that really was your conflict, and what if you could revolve that back to here and then take responsibility and take action for your own behavior that it's reflecting. Now, people who want to be victims, you know, who want to just let you be the guru and, you know, think a lot about stuff, but not really take action or not really change themselves, you know, that's one thing. But that's not what we do. You have to be willing.
Say it again, Barbara. Say it again.
Well, and that's why I named my tour, well, it's a World Peace Tour, but I'm looking for the participation of the willing to take part in a worldwide nonviolent action to end the age of war, by starting with conflict resolution on the microcosm and ending the conflict here that we personally generate of us versus them. You're responsible for this and you're blaming this. So we take that all back, right, and we change it here, and then it naturally affects the manifestation of what happens around us. Yeah. But you have to be willing.
You've got to be willing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I love how, like, our paradigms are, like, matching up, because, like, everything about the services that I offer that are in connection to safe space, right? Like, so I mentioned my 27-day safe space all intensive. That's just my offer. Where you go to the other program, which is called Becoming a Safe Space. And I take people through these modules to help them truly identify what their safe space needs to look like. I highly recommend individuals that would want to be a part of that to take part in some conflict evolution first, because there's some prerequisites that a lot of people don't really realize that needs to happen. I even myself, like, with creating the program, I'm like, oh yeah, thank you.
That was great.
Right. Like, I'm like, because like people are like, oh, well, I'll do it if you want me to do it. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is a completely willing operation over here. I am not taking any accountability for you choosing to come into this program. And
Yeah, we have
fair.
We have ground rules. We do all the ground rules, the values, the goals, the objectives. And the ground rules are, the first one is that, we have a domain. Like I have my domain and you have your domain. So my domain is my responsibility. And the second ground rule is, my domain is my responsibility. Your domain is not my responsibility. The second ground rule is my domain is my responsibility. My domain isn't your responsibility. And the third is C1 and 2, because it's all, and I find with the work that we do is that there's this point where people are resistant, because it's like, well, I didn't create that, or I didn't want those, like, and they get resistance. But when you get into the structure and you see this brilliant Einsteinian operating system, people start to get excited because, first of all, it's all about you. It's all about you.
Yes.
It's not about them. This is about you. And then when you learn that you're creating it, instead of going, oh, why would I create? Oh, I'm creating it. I can uncreate it and I can recreate it. So they get empowered by it. And then they start to get this freedom of letting go of trying to do all those things that aren't theirs to do. And when you get that clarity, there's this evolution of it and a revolution of it and a revolution of it too.
Yeah, it's true. Like it is a redefining moment. I feel like we're in a era. Like it's just everything redefined, re-evolution, remembering,
renewal,
refreshment, like
revitalization.
Yes.
Yeah, everything.
Like, that is like reaffirming, like being able to put ourselves into those modalities is what's going to reduce the conflict. I got to tell you, conflict has been reduced from my world so much that even when it is being spoken about in the outside world, I'm still over here like, well, we're going to figure out, like, this is our chance to get through it. This is our chance to show others there is an opportunity to go another way.
And I think when I heard you say in one of those podcasts that about the, it's our opportunity to find solutions. And what we talk about is, pivoting, like in basketball, when people pivot, it's like somebody throws you something and you can't throw it that way. You don't sit down on the court and go, what was wrong with me as a child that I can't throw the ball? You pivot. You just pivot and then you go with this flow and it's a whole flow. So we train people how those creative solutions become the priority.
Yeah, I absolutely love the pivot. I love the pivot so much that it's a iconic scene in the show Friends. I don't know if you watch Friends much.
Yeah, I have.
So there's a scene where Ross, the character, asks two of his friends, right? So we got two of his friends to help him bring this beautiful couch upstairs. But he lives in a New York City apartment, right? So it's steps, it's tight. And so it's a whole scene where they're trying to get it up, they can't get it up, and Ross is just like, pivot, 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 pivot. They never got the couch up. But what he ends up doing is cutting it in half.
See? Creative solutions.
Because it was stuck, and then he returned it.
Whatever we need to do.
Right? Whatever we need to do, because we're going to get ourselves to a place to where it's in a bind, and it's like a pivot is because you need to get out of this, right? Like there's no way that you can get away from this without getting out of it.
Yeah.
So like pivoting skills have to be something that we work towards.
Yes, absolutely.
And these are characteristics that I feel like we've been taught to stay away from. And like conflict has been the thing that has just been the replacement. Oh, you can't do something. Something's conflicting you. Something's conflicting you. And then people sit with this confliction of like, oh, I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough. Or I was never taught this. I didn't have the privilege. And it's like, it's great that you can stare at the starting line, but when are you going to run?
Yeah.
When are you going to get to the finish line? Because what you're talking about is just the start. It's not the end. And that's like the understanding, like it moves me so much more when I bring it to like, that's the identification of, not the final solution.
Yes, it's a step in the process of getting to that solution. But I think, and what you're talking about in conflict resolution, we train people two different things. Now, these are like spiritual organs: emotion, intuition, and intellect. And so, like when the heart is suffering, you do one thing to fix it. When the stomach's suffering, you do another thing to fix it. But we've been raised to think that thinking is feeling. So we wake up in the middle of the night, we have an anxiety, which is truly the pure emotion of it. But then we have thoughts around the anxiety they're quite separate things, and they function separately and individually. So what we teach people how to do is to feel the anxiety without allowing it to marry to those thoughts that are going to say, oh, tomorrow something's bad going to happen, or I didn't do this or that or that. When you pull that emotion away from that thought, it decreases its power. And then when you have a wherewithal of a mantra or another thought that you want to put in there, for example, mine was always, I don't have to know why I feel this way. I need to just feel it. And then use the breath to be in that present moment with that anxiety, moving it through, getting it far away from the thinking process. And when we do that separately with emotion, and because it's a wave, it always waves emotion, and you think you're going to be mad forever, but it always subsides. Then we can go back and look at what that thought process was doing to us as we pay attention to wow, I was telling myself I don't deserve to even be alive, or, what goes on with that anxiety. And that kind of self observant change, like I can tell you all day long what your conflict is. But when you take that initiative and are willing to go, let me see what it is, and then you see yourself making the conflict, wow, that's the most permanent and rudimental change that we can do.
Oh, yes, 100%, 100%. And I love that, you identify that, because like a lot of people want to point fingers. A lot of people want to point fingers. A lot of people want to identify with it outside of them. And so now the conversation is starting to get a lot more versatile, especially on the Facebook platform. A lot of people want to say like Facebook is dead. And I'm just like, I mean, if your friends list is dead, of course. Like
exactly. No. I don't know about you. I have about 3,200 friends, which I think is a nice, a lot of people from various walks of life. These are people I can reach.
Right.
I don't care if the next platform is TikTok or if this is this. I have the circle. I have these relationships. I can reach them. And that if that's all I do, it's a gracious plenty, just so we're doing something.
Yes. I've had to do, I had to do a lot of talking to myself through just going through the Demystifying Awareness tour, and just, I was like, just because I'm on this tour, demystifying other people's awareness doesn't mean that it's the end of the road for demystifying my awareness.
Right. Oh no.
I can't sit there and think that I can't find nothing to raise about. Like I can find some stuff and I can keep doing the work. And for me, it just kept coming back to, do I want to feel confliction or do I want to feel resolve? And always says, I want to feel resolved. So I need to feel this moment better. And I've actually been identified, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I rage against the protests. I rage against the rebellion. Like even the rebellious people, I'm not trying to do, you're still addenduming yourself to something that which not is of you. It's not of you. And like, what are you really rebelling about? Like, I know people that sit there and rebel and like, oh, I'm not going to eat at 8 o'clock in the morning because that's the best time I should eat. I'm going to wait until 1 o'clock. What are you rebelling against? You know, like this is your circadian rhythm. Rebel against how you're going to eat. Rebel against where you're going to get your food at. Don't rebel against your rhythm, you know? And so a lot of people that are in this rebellious phase are rebelling against their own internal system. And that is the opposite of evolution, I feel like. Do you feel like a lot of people see you as an opposite rebel?
I think people see this once they get an introduction to it, just even this level that we have, where there's all these little pieces that are so revolutionary, you know, like not thinking. Thinking is not feeling. How do we actually feel? How do we control our feelings? I think people quickly it's like they either are or they're not. Either people are like, oh, or they're like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. And we start to like we're doing like, yes, yes, yes. And then it sends them off on their own. And I like that because I don't need to waste 1 minute with somebody who's like, well, I don't know if I really want to do this deep of a work, or, you know, I'm going to rebel against stuff just so I can feel like I'm doing something, you know, when I'm just rebelling against projection, or I'm rebelling against this or that, you know, let's rebel against our own limitations, against our own thought processes that have kept us down, against all that abscessed emotion that we need to start getting out. You know, let's rebel against the old systems that are keeping us from our evolution. That's what I like about rebel.
I love that. Like I'm writing this down because, you know, I'm taking notes. Because like I love to take notes like while we're talking. For number one, it reduces my spin-off because like, listen, conflict can arise any point in time. And so I'll get to a point to where I'm like doing the cover for the episode and I'm like, what words am I going to use? You know, give me 1 second.
Yeah. Yes, writing and taking notes is something that I think there's types, right? There's people who cannot not write, and then there's other people who have to just really sit and sort of, you know, flex out. But
it's so funny when I get something in my throat. It just makes me cough.
I know I've been there several times on several podcasts. But I can talk on and on. So if you need to cough, came from doing sound checks and rock and roll.
It's like I know it's in my throat kind of a thing. Give me a second. I don't think the orange juice is helping me. I need water. Hold on.
Okay, you go get some water.
And feel free to share more.
Yeah, I'll continue to talk about the praises of conflict revolution and this world peace path I'm on. And what I love the most about it, I think, is that when we do it in here and we do that work, and that's really hard work. It is sometimes to face yourself down and make these changes. But when we do it, this natural manifestation of what we have just done within ourselves, the peace that we have just made internally, becomes a natural part of the creation of what's around us. And that's just one of the miraculous parts about it.
I was writing down the thought that you were saying, and then
Oh, you had a.
I guess it hit my system differently. I always say that. Like being able to create change in the vessel, even if you're not in the physical, you can still feel the energy. And for me, I'm starting to experience that. Like this, it's like because I've reduced conflict in my world, it's like it shows up like a different way for me
Mhm.
to make me kind of like stop talking. And I'm like, it's all right. I'm okay. I'm gonna get this weird coughing spasm. And it happens at like the most weirdest times, but I'm gonna say what I was gonna say anyways because you didn't distract me. Um talking to the cough. So like I was saying that I like to write the notes down because like when I'm in the process of editing, I like to know what I was feeling at that time. And I can't go back. And so then I feel bad. And then I start making bad thoughts around my podcast editing. And I don't want that. So I just create a way to get around it and I make notes. They're not trying to let me say this. It's so interesting.
That's
So I'm going to
energy.
try a little more water and let you share.
Okay. Yes, and there's something too, I think, about engaging in as we listen and then we process in our heads and then we write. There's something powerful about that process as well, not just to help us remember, but I used to say when I was writing music that I would go into the nothingness and I would listen for the song that was already written, and I'd hear bits of it, and I'd bring out four bars, and I'd have to create rhythm and melody and structure and stuff. And when we apply that kind of awareness to a system that is in place in present moment that lets us deal with the natural conflicts of life in this regenerative way, everything changes. It's no longer where you and I have to sit down and we got to talk about what did you mean and what did you say, and but you meant this and I meant that. It's like we don't have to do that anymore. Conflict resolution allows us to get to this resolution of our own and then come back to the table to be able to say, hey, here's what my resolution was. What did you find out? So it's much more sovereign.
Right.
And
sovereign. And that's like that's like a really key element. It goes back to for me, what comes into my head is king, right? And I'm just gonna share my theories because they want to shift my energy. I want energy, but I'm okay. So now the dog is trying to feed the energy now.
No, with the dogs.
Take it. Take it. Take the energy. You can handle it better. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. See, energy is so powerful.
It is. It is. I love it. And I love to like maneuver around it. So it's like, it's just showing us like, right, you got to be in your kingship. You got to be in your queenship. And that's like something that we don't get to identify enough with because we don't have kings and queens over here in America where other people do. But even where people do, I don't know if they get to really identify with it because they've been talking to themselves down so much that they never see the royalty in them. But what makes those people royalty is because they're supposed to see themselves as sovereign.
Yeah.
They're supposed to see themselves as righteous. And so to be more in that flow and that frequency, we have to accept what it looks like for us to be in a sovereign state of mind, because that is going to, it's going to be able to help us identify, you know, where we belong in conflict.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like to do A or B. Either I'm all in or I'm all out. And I'm an AB girl. I'm all in and I'm all out. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm all in, so this takes me out.
Right. Yeah. But you know, people
wants me there.
people get so attached to the circumstances around them. You get thrown hither and yon, and somebody's done this and somebody's done that. And without being able to revolve that all around to say, wait a minute, I have my power. I have my intention. I could go into this situation intending that I'm going to find a rejuvenated renewal solution to this conflict. I am going to work for the good of the whole here. I can intend that. I don't even know what it means, but if I intend it and go in with that, as opposed to, well, now we've got to play these power games where now we have to negotiate. I need this and you need that. It's like, no. What do we want to create? How are we going to intend to do that? And it's just such an empowering position to finally be in.
Yeah, I love it. It's very Abraham Hicks of you.
Right.
To intend. You got to intend. And I'll be like, say it. Yes, you've got to. Like, you've got to want this. And, you know, that goes to the place, like, if this is my positive spin on conflict. If you really want to learn something, be in conflict to what you've already known. Be in conflict to how you value things. And ask yourself, is this really how you value things? Is it equating to a positive in your life? Or is it equating to a negative in your life? Because every word doesn't mean the same and it doesn't carry the same weight for everybody.
Well, and conflict is inevitable. It's not like because there's conflict, something's wrong. It's just conflict is part of the creative process. But like you were saying, it's our relationship to that conflict. And if we're going to attach to it and assign these meanings that something's wrong with me or this person did, you know, that's one way. I mean, I did it along that way, victimizing myself for years and years and years. But when I started to do this work and really turn it around back into my own domain, back into my own power, taking responsibility for myself was the greatest self-esteem and self-love that I could do. Far greater than what I could ask for from somebody else to love me. So.
It's very true. It's very true. I always like to say that people give words a bad name. And they decide how they show up. They decide if it's a negative or a positive. And even a positive can become negative. They have all three values. This is so crazy. So sorry. Hold on.
That's okay. But when people, early on, the very first time that I wrote, spontaneous automatic writing where I was channeling, what they said was, when you make a judgment, whether it's good or it's bad, it closes down your perception like a lens of an eye. And so only a tiny portion of the whole picture gets through when we make those judgments. And so the way to open up that lens is, if you think something is a negative, add the positive. If you think something is such a positive, add the negative, to get a whole picture of it and a whole relationship. But like you were saying, you know, either you're all in or you're all out. Well, there's a whole spectrum of colors and hues and gradients and so much depth of perception rather than just black and white. So
That is so true. I feel like, you know, we can make more positive ways to deal with conflict. And conflict is a part of our evolution. Like without struggle, we don't really develop, you know? And so I wanted to like bring this to this moment because this has been a really great conversation. So I just want to bring this to the moment of where we talk about like some empowered tips. So what are particularly some positive or empowered things that you can share with the audience when dealing with conflict and wanting to find revolution instead of a solution or a problem? How can they get more empowered?
I think one of the best empowering tips is that when we cultivate a witness of ourselves, so we just wake up in the morning after we say our prayers of gratitude and intend that we're going to have this great day, that we witness ourselves throughout the course of a day. This is not something you have to do in a workshop or in a special long meditation. You do it, you watch yourself when you're standing in line at the supermarket or you're stuck in traffic, when you don't have to be thinking of something. And what we're looking for is, what are we thinking? What are we feeling? And what is intuition impelling us to do? And that witness, developing that practice, can then lead to the next empowered tip that I have, is that treat intellect separate from emotion. Get to know yourself when you're getting to know your emotion, it's just happiness, anxiety, whatever. There's no big explanation or rationalization. That's all intellectual activity. And then breathe, release and breathe and feel. And then you can go in and have less power and attachment from those thoughts. And that's really kind of a bedrock basis of conflict resolution.
I love that. I love that. Pulling it out, really looking at it, separating those cells, molecules, all of that quantumness. It takes a lot to like step back. And so like what I can share is just to like piggyback off of what Barbara was already saying and attempt to find someone that can like really help you, like someone that really has the ears for what it is that you're looking to unfold. And if you're not sure if they have the ears, but you want to connect with that specific person, just make sure you set some boundaries. Make sure you open up with, I just want to hear myself first before you offer any stimulating thoughts. And or say, please don't take anything that I say to offense, or wait until we finish the conversation because I'm really just looking to see what's happening. And that really helps. Sometimes it's a professional person, and sometimes it's just a really good, empowered person in your family. But what I don't recommend is to just do it by yourself for a long time. You can do it by yourself, yes, but without outside support, you reduce the struggle and the conflict, and then you actually remove yourself from actually transforming yourself in your intending way. And so it is not that easy to do, but it is totally doable. There's always a way around something. And if you can't find it, someone else can. We have to give each other chances. We have to. And so with that, that completes today's beautiful, beautiful topic. I so appreciate you, Barbara, for coming through, sharing your light. Please share with the audience how they can find you and find out more about what you've got going on.
Well, barbarawith.com is my personal website where you can read about my readings and all my other things. I have other things that I do. I help people write books and publish books, and I'm also a journalist. And you can go to Synergy Alliance LLC, and that's everything Einstein, the Psychic Sorority, Conflict Revolution, all my events. I have a lot of free podcasts of my own. I have a YouTube channel, Barb, with hundreds of free videos to see all of this work and all of the work that I've done. And I'm on Insta and X, and I'm on Facebook, Barbara With. And yeah, you can find anything you need in all of those places.
Thank you so much. And for those of you that are looking to get more empowered tips and conversation, please check out more of our episodes on our platform. EM Healing has 3 seasons, full seasons out, and we are releasing the episodes from season 4 throughout the remainder of 2024. And if you're looking to get a discovery session with myself, Mahatma, you can go to my IG page, Elite Motivation 411, and click the link tree and find your free discovery session. Until next time, this is Mahatma.
Thank you.
One and two.